Don't forget to network, have fun in between. And let's see, do you think, give some idea as maybe we could hear from the people who they think is going to win tonight?
No. You should ask me. I have my bets on a couple of big players. That's what they call themselves, right? Big players.
But I think it compromises you because you're on the stage tonight. So.
No.
Okay.
Now, this is one thing you need to understand. A brand, right?
Yes.
Brands together. It all comes together. It makes sense. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. We are so for what I know that a lot of us experience a live stream. This is the big time, right?
This is it.
This is the big time, and I love the fact that everyone is dressed so beautifully in bright and regal print and colors. Did you all get your room? This room.
Do we even have any people in this room?
Did you have your paparazzi moment before you entered the room? Hopefully a few of them can go out and get their picture.
Yes, please. Indeed, if you haven't, be sure to moment to take a picture when the time allows. We'll be starting with our official program. Thank you.
The news on the radio today, people have agreed to give their love away. I can't wait to be there in line. No. Politicians have agreed to honor and obey. They'll come down and listen to what the people say. I can't wait to be there. Play in the streets, love every beat. Open hearts will be the rhythm of the day. Neighbors will greet each other. Sisters, even enemies will come to be friends. Oh, I can't wait to be there in line. No. Oh. If you are ready to come around, if you are ready, oh, venga amigo, iré vadila. If you are ready, whoa. Love and kindness every day. Say you know the meaning of love. See every person that you meet as every me, and then I'll know you feel the rhythm of love. Oh, I can't wait to be there in line. No. Oh, I can't wait to be there in line. No. and stomp your feet if you hear what I mean. Clap and stomp your feet if you hear what I mean. Clap and stomp your feet if you hear what I mean. Clap, stomp your feet if you clap and stomp your feet. Hear what I mean and stomp your feet.
dikatana jelebe ka magwe yero se khomo zamai masiu Manero aje pabala sele ya chala musali ya shwa ya ikepera ya chaje le gato la mpedo la muka Ablasha ampiagalo aona sewa gata jebile kwana wane opajile segane wafal ago soga wosabe ufijana jebezi matagera ajizebe ajizebezi matagera ajizebezi
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this beautiful evening. You all look lovely tonight, and to those of you joining us, welcome to the top 100 brands to edition. We are talking all things brands. We do know that in the day and age that we live in, brand association is something so important. People always want to be beyond brands being named. Really do define who we are as things that we like. They highlight how people see us. So today is a very important night to take a look at what are some of the best brands that are taking over Africa. Importantly as well for tonight, say what is hot happening in Lesotho because edition. So just to tell you a little bit about the initiative, this is something that is done to just, see brand popularity, see minds are at. It's been happening for years, and what has been interesting in the last 2 years with us being in a pandemic, you would have thought that people don't really consume brands, right? Because for most of 2020 we were stuck at home, we really didn't know what to do, we didn't know when we'd be coming out of that rut, but people continued to shop, people continued to be brand conscious, people continued to stick to the brands that they like. So it goes to just show us that in everything that we do, we associate with brands. Whether we know it or not, we really are a brand conscious people. And tonight seeks to just highlight what some of the brands, what is the talk in the street when you are in Lesotho. Will you be wearing something that people will pick up? Will you be using a certain network that gives you, and then the other one loses out? So then the one that gives you connection is then popular. Or is it because, the other one offers better rates than the other? But whichever way we choose to look at it, really, it all comes down to brands. So this evening, we will be taking a look at what are the brands about throughout Africa, and what are the brands that people are loving and appreciating right here at home. So before I continue, I would like to introduce myself to everyone who is joining us from all over Africa, the rest of the world. I will be your co-host this evening. My name is Tukulorama Pepe. I'm so pleased to be with you this evening. I'm not alone. I do have a co-pilot, Ms. Kiva Pakisi. She will come onto the stage a little bit later on. So I'm trying to get a feel of, have you guys used a bit of time to think about who could possibly be the big winners for tonight? Does MTN still exist in Lesotho? So it can't possibly be them. Okay, that doesn't work. You see the importance of brands, right? So if MTN did exist in Lesotho, the competitors would then be Helena the phone, Vodacom, okay, Econet. Sorry. It will be very interesting to see what happens and how this rolls out. I must also let you know that with the initiative growing and the idea of people associating themselves with growing, this initiative looks to do great things and grow constantly. And also just to remind you that the results that will be given tonight are purely based on a survey. It goes out and the people do vote. So whether it is that you are tech savvy, it is the number of votes that have come in via survey. So it is the people of Lesotho and the people of Africa who have decided 100 brands. We will be having Lesotho's top brands, but we're also looking in the future to have Africa's top 100 places, right? Because we want to talk about the importance of being African, priding ourselves in Africa and saying that when we compete with the globe, we really stand out as an amazing continent, but bringing it back home as well to say, as Lesotho, can we have top 100 places that people look at and say, I definitely want to be there? So this is an initiative that looks to grow, that looks to encourage everyone in this room to say, let us continue to be proudly Lesotho and let us continue to be proudly African. Without wasting any more time, we are with the program. I am going to call upon someone who wears quite a few hats, but one of them, he prides himself in wearing, being proudly African, and most importantly, being proudly Mosotho. The thing about tonight is that it's very important that I specify that it's all down to service, right? So I happen to be working for the company that has made tonight possible. But I want you guys to know that that has no influence. We didn't even win. So that should tell you how legit this is, all right? I just thought I should put it out there. Miss Kiva, on the other hand, who happens to run away from me because I may have given her a warning about this, has worked with quite a few brands in this room. So it will be interesting to see that with the brands associated to her, any winners. But just so that we get it out of the room, she's had no influence on how the results are going to turn out tonight. I cannot stress that enough. Otherwise, please do welcome, welcome our group CEO from the Mammoth Citrus Group, who is wearing another hat, proudly African today, and that is the National Chairman for Brand Africa in Lesotho, Ndade Philani Phumane. Please join me on stage.
I'll go around that way.
Around. Welcome, Ndade.
Thank you, Deborah. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It is all tonight. I must say, this has to be the most colorful room I've been in a very long time. Allow me to encourage everyone to give everyone a round of applause. Really. Ladies and gentlemen, as has been said, my name is Philani Phumane. Ke Mosotho, ke Bothabothe ma Halukuna Morene. To everyone that's watching across Africa, if you Google that, you'll know exactly where. It is an honor to stand here and welcome you to the Southern Africa and Lesotho edition of Africa's Best Brands in 2022. Brand Africa is a non-profit intergenerational movement that seeks Pan-Africanism. We hope to inspire a new generation of Africans that make African, grow African, and that we hope to achieve a truly liberated Africa, because we can all agree that for Africa at the moment, it is not yet Uhuru. We have seen that 80%, more than 80% of the brands we can consume are not African. In fact, if I get the number right, it's actually more than 87% of the brands that Africans consume are not African. That means we're only consuming and buying only 13%. That is something that we hope to change as Brand Africa. Now, as an organization, we have a number of initiatives that we run throughout the year. This is one of those initiatives, the Top 100 Survey, which we conduct in collaboration with our partners, Kantar, Geopol, Brand Leadership, and the Africa Brand Leadership Academy. We then with our Africa 55 network partners in all the 28 countries where we run the survey. So over and above the fact that we run 28 countries across all regions and language groups. So that is English, English, Portuguese, and Arabic. And through that, the Top 100 survey has become Africa's only and most referenced index that ranks brands in Africa. So since Lesotho has been a part of this initiative in 2021 rather, Lesotho brands are starting to get more recognition. Lesotho brands are in other parts of Africa. And we'll see when we announce the results of this year, initiatives such as this and our and our audience across Africa, wonderful for us African brands. So it's a really exciting evening for us. And as we introduced here, is Africa's top 100 places. And I think, in fact, I'm more confident that we're just probably going to get 10, if not 15, of the places on that list. But we can only do so if we collaborate to build our brand at Lesotho. But it's very possible. You're probably asking yourself, how we conduct a survey across 28 countries, across 4 different language groups, and still come up with some semblance of a list that you can actually depend on and rely on. As I said, we collaborate with Kantar and Geopol, which are global organizations that deal with data and data analytics. And they have verified and stress tested the results that have been collected in all 28 countries. I don't want to bore you with the results of how we conduct the survey. What I want to do is actually invite the founder of Brand Africa up on stage, a visionary that I have come to call a brother and a friend, and perhaps one of the few people who can confidently say they really know Africa, largely because they've been to all 55 African countries. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to invite on stage Ndadetebe of Brand Africa. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Shall we sit and chat so you can tell everyone about why we brought evening.
It's also cold though.
It's nice and crisp.
It's nice and crisp. I can
True.
Right.
That's very true. So, Brand Africa started in 2010. You're doing this for free. You've spent your money. You travel. So it seems like a very glamorous and fun thing. But why exactly did you start this, and why are we doing this?
Well, when we started, we actually started at the cusp of the 2010 World Cup. The world was coming to Africa, and the question to us was, when they come to Africa, what are they going to? All of us around 2010 started saying, let's our products, all those. And the truth of the matter is, they were coming to enjoy a lot of the things that they used to, because we started putting up our 5-star hotels, which they used to. They're coming to eat and drink the brands that they used to. And from our time, I don't know, about 15 countries or so, 15 or, yeah, probably into about maybe 15 countries or so. And in the continent, I've been everywhere else. And my observation was, but we actually are not enjoying, we're not consuming, nor are we selling, nor are we telling our stories from our side. Yeah. So at that stage, I decided, actually approached Kantar. Kantar, as you know, is the biggest research company in the world. Because I didn't want to sit around my room and then do things myself. I approached Kantar and says, can you help me figure out the status of African brands, so that when people come here, I want to know what they'll be enjoying. So that's really how we started. We started by trying and establish as a brand, where do we fit in as Africans? Where do our brands fit in the continent?
And you having traveled to all 55 countries, what perspective is that giving you on Africa as a brand?
I had a conversation. I had lunch, a meeting actually, with the CEO of he's a Korean. And we're talking, because Samsung's so successful in Africa. As remember, Samsung pretty much placed Nokia, because Nokia was the standard brand. And come and display. So, and I said to him, KK Park, why are you guys so successful? And he said, you know what, Tebe? I've been to, he says, me as a Korean, and us as a company, we encourage it. We've been to every country in the continent. How people eat, how they live. we look at the conditions, and we have decided, we've looked at them and said, how can we respond to these conditions? And I sat there a little bit embarrassed because here is a South Korean brand that's come to Africa and has got the formula on how to be successful. And the formula is back to basics. To your people, understand how they live, understand where they are, so that we don't work on assumptions. So the other reason was I didn't want to talk about the continent, which I to say, if I'm going to talk about Africa, if I'm going to say that I'm an African, or if I'm going to preach, then I must at least have been to the African countries. So literally that was the motivation at that stage.
If not all of us to do that.
Well, yeah, because you need about 30 visas to cross the borders, but even still up to today. And sometimes you have to leave the continent to go to Europe, to come back into Africa. So yeah, it's a bit of a challenge in many ways. I mean, it's a logistical challenge, which I'm hoping, with the Africa which has been, which at least has been agreed on, as it is, hopefully we'll be able to move around. But so yes, around the continent, but it's not a challenge if you have to look at it. To look around how you move township, how you move around your own place. So if you think of Africa as your base, if you think of Africa as your home, then moving around the continent is not a challenge. It's a from the township to the suburbs to everywhere else. Get to know your place. So, but of course, it's a financial, logistical, and many other challenges. Yes.
So let's talk brand. We have a few CEOs and CEOs and heads of marketing. Biggest talking in boardrooms these days is how do we cut the marketing budget, right? I'm sure the CEOs or the heads of industry in CFOs, I know that the CFOs are normally the first ones to say, no, we have to cut the marketing budget. Why is brand so important, and why do we think that it's going to contribute towards the economic growth of Africa?
Brand is a vector of a country's image, the vector of a company's image, its competitiveness, and everything else. Let's think about this. How do we know America? Yeah. We know it through its brands. Yeah. We know America through Coca-Cola. We know France through Chanel. We know Italy through Gucci. We know so the relationships that we have in many countries is through the brands. So the story of a country, of a people, the story of a people's enterprising ability, the story of a people's creativity. The story of a country's competitiveness. So that's at the country level. At the company level, the brand is the repository of an organization. That's why when you think about companies like Arthur Andersen, if you remember, which when that big accounting scandal, what happened? Nobody wanted to brand anymore. And we've had multiple examples like that. That companies know that the brand is not just of your image, but also your reputation, importantly of your value. Because when you lose that reputation, you can see how the share goes down. So the investment in marketing, the investment in building your brand is not really about creating pretty pictures. Because a brand is not just the image that we see. A brand is a promise made and a promise delivered. Beneath the brand that we see, the identity is the values of the organization. It is the people organization, it is the organization, it is everything that drives the organization. The brand, as some people say, it is just a shorthand to the broader business.
Fantastic. So
if you cut the budget for the brand, for building your brand, choking your own growth ability. Okay. I mean, would buy WhatsApp for $2 billion, 20 billion, I can't remember how much. What do you think they were buying? They were buying the brand because they can create the WhatsApp themselves. It's easy for billions. But they said, but here is a brand. And why do you think that Elon Musk bought Twitter? He could have started his own, like, is a brand. And for whatever they pay for it, they're paying for the brand. So that's why it's so important to brand, and to build the brand, and to honor the brand.
Fantastic. Your words, not mine. Your words, not mine. So let's talk the survey really quickly. How do we do it? Can we give the audience some insight on how we go about populating the list, how we conduct the survey, just to give them some comfort that the results are legit?
Well, you didn't tell him that you and I sat together to come up with the list?
Yeah, we sat in a corner somewhere and tried to remember brands from our head.
In 2011, when we started, we had 8 countries. And at that time, we did what you call an omni. In other words, we just added questions onto the questions which were being asked about anything other brands. So when we started with Kantar, because they said, oh, we're going to get money to invest in this. I said, can I just get into an omnibus? So with 8 countries, Omnibus added one question, what's the most admired brand? And they deployed that question on top of other questions, and they brought down the results to us. But throughout this, we've then increased the number progressively. And now this year we're up to 29 actually. I said 28, but it's actually 20 with the addition of Mauritius. It's 29 countries. Now when you add up those countries collectively, when you add up their populations, they account for about 85% of the population of the continent. But they also add up the GDPs of the countries as well. It's actually funny because it's about similar number, 85% GDPs of the country. And we do it, as you said earlier, from Africa, Central Africa, East Africa, and South Africa. So those countries. And when we did it first as Omnibus, in the following year we did then as a face-to-face. As a face-to-face, then we realized as the numbers go on, because it Africans everywhere else in the world. And the other challenge with face-to-face is the countries are quite spread out, cities are spread out, and all those. So then we partnered with Geopol in 2015. So we brought Geopol to countries onto the Kantar mold now. So Geopol is the world's biggest mobile research company. So and they've got access to about 500 million Americans with mobile phones, smartphones. So we partnered with Geopol and we said, Geopol, how can we deploy this survey now across the whole continent in the countries? And in the countries where Geopol wasn't, we then brought in other additional partners. Yeah. But in the main, 95% Geopol cover the entire our continent. And we deployed the survey across those countries, and the results come and they elicit about what? About 80,000, about 80 brand mentions, so just mentions of brands. But if you break them down, it's about 3,000 to 5,000 people mention. So we then take all that information, so Geopol collects the information, passes it on to Kantar. Kantar then takes all those 80,000 numbers, codes. That's the second thing. The first thing they do first, they make sure that first they index the numbers.
Right.
And the reason they index the number is because Nigeria at 250 million is not the same as Botswana at 2.5, Namibia perhaps at 2.5 million people. Yeah. So in order, if you want to make them equal, then you have to index the population as well as the gender. And we do it, and I forgot to say, we also do it for 18 years plus, so you have to be 18 years and older. So you have a level of consciousness. Yeah. So they take all that now having done the index, now having done the coding, then we go through we do the and in deduplicates make sure that you don't have duplications of names. But the interesting other thing is you then start editing as well, because now in editing that you find somebody who call bank, because remember they write it. Yeah. They write net bank, NET bank. Someone write NED bank. Someone write just NED bank. So we need to look at all those and say how do we make sure that we. So it's quite an arduous process. Other processes like Standard Bank, for example, where Standard Bank in South Africa, Stanbic in Kenya, and Stanbic BIC in other countries. Then we consolidate those as a Stanbic bank because it's the same brand across the world. Yeah. Then you get others like Vodacom, Vodafone, Safaricom, M-Pesa, all part of as well. Others like iPhone, iPad, iMac, we consolidate them all into Apple. Right. So that's sort of the long, arduous process that it takes to arrive at that list. Then we reduce all that into the top 100 lists to start. And we do it for every country. And for every country, then we consolidate to the entire continent.
Fantastic.
Work.
It's quite a bit of work, but worth it nonetheless. Over the years, I followed the list. We haven't gotten a Lesotho brand on the top 100 yet.
Yet.
I say yet.
I think that is the...
I say yet. What does it take to get on that list?
You know, because the top 100 of the continent is out, I can quote one brand about that. As you know, on Africa Day, we launched the focusing on South Africa and Lesotho for the first time. So on that list, you will notice that there's a brand, two brands, one called Batu and one called Drip. Now, those are two upstart brands. Started in 5 years, maybe 3 years,
if not
even.
less,
Maybe even 3 years. Different. The thing that they did different, I think there was an intentionality about how they went about building the brands. First, the entire value chain.
Right.
From design to manufacturing to distribution. You don't necessarily need to, but I'm just saying that's what they do.
Yeah.
But what they did even more aggressively and confidently, they opened their own retail during COVID. So during COVID, they each opened 20 shops. But where really, the magic really happened is influencer marketing, media, and millions. When I say millions, millions spent in creating visibility.
Right.
Because remember, when you're building a brand, you can't say to me, oh, but Tebe, our products are so good. Everybody's got a good product. The question is, has everybody got an opportunity to taste your product, touch your product?
Right.
So what those two young men did, they are aggressive and entrepreneurial marketing. They enable that this brand is touched by a lot of people using influencer, like I said, social marketing, traditional marketing. You know now, if you land in South Africa, in the major airports, they're all dripped. If you go on William Nicol, on the highway, billboards of Drip or the billboards of Batu. So that's just, but then what's quite interesting is these brands have borders without
crossing over.
And I'll explain, or rather I'll explain an example. So if you look at a brand like Gucci, for example, or a brand like, you can only buy in South Africa, perhaps 2-3 other countries in the continent. You can perhaps only buy a real Gucci in South Africa, and perhaps in Egypt, and maybe I think Morocco, and 1 or 2 others.
So the one I saw down the street is not
but what's so interesting about that is that Gucci is the #7 brand in Africa. So admiration. So when you talk about Africa's, that's really an acronym for a short for the in Africa. So it doesn't necessarily stick to the brands that people can afford, or the brands that people own, brands that people have even touched, but it talks about the brands that inspire them.
Right.
So what Lesotho needs to do, Lesotho brands need to do, they need to look into how do we create for our brands, how do we invest in marketing, how do we create about cut marketing spend. If you cut marketing spend, you're Drip and you're never going to get started. But they invested in marketing, and now they're selling 300,000 to 400,000 shoes each this year. That's how crazy it is. And those shoes are beyond the borders. But admiration has crossed beyond the borders as well.
So it's the story that people are attracted to.
Look at the story of Batu and the story of Drip. Both are telling the same story, but in different ways. You look at a Drip, for example, which tells a story about, the way he started the story, it's about a township dream, but the story has since evolved to live your great. That anybody, it doesn't matter where you come from, you can live your great. And if you look at the story of Batu, it's walk your journey. So both of them have created a very compelling proposition. And what that does is it enables the consumers to latch onto something about your brand. So, and that when they latch onto something about your brand, then they can relate to it, then they want to be a part of the story. Even if I can't afford it, I aspire to it. And at least I can talk about it. It's just
Fantastic.
analysis.
So, I'm sure the suspense, I can feel the energy. What say we give everyone a highlight of Africa's best brands?
Sure, let's do that.
Shall we do that?
Let's do that.
Shall we? Then we'll do,
So I think we do,
yeah.
and then we do Southern Africa, because always so interesting, because you spoke earlier, last year we're at 83%, 87%,
Yeah.
almost 90% of the brands that Africans admire.
Yeah.
And this year it's changed quite dramatically. Well, that's means there's progress.
Yeah.
So yes, of course, I think it's quite interesting. Let's try and do that. So happy to share that.
Fantastic.
that
So
story.
maybe let you give that highlight in case you
I can see with
you
on
don't
the
see.
big screen.
Let's see what it looks like. Let's see what. That's
So
us.
the big story, which is coming up in African business, as you know, one of our partners is African Business, which is the oldest business magazine since 1966. Thing that you spoke earlier, which is quite important, is we want to make sure that these are the most credible results. No brands for the surveys. I've spent millions into the survey over the years, rather than ask for people to spend money.
Yeah.
Luckily, then I've got along the way like Kenta, which is not a consumer brand, and who are helping somewhat with ensuring that we do.
And it's important to mention now that you say that, I mean, even today's event was made possible, yes, by the Mammo Citrus Group, but we had the Lesotho Development Corporation come on board as well and support this initiative. We had Econet Telecoms, which sponsored. So Africa is watching us right now. It's courtesy of Econet Telecom. So it's always important seeing what happens when brands come together and
Brands
collaborate.
come together, correct.
And the caveat, we said earlier on, it doesn't mean they've gotten any higher on the list.
No, because remember the results. The survey is conducted every year, anytime from February to. So this year, I think we did it in February and March.
Yeah.
Is when the study took place. So and again, none of us are involved.
No.
I'm not involved, even though I started, because I wouldn't have a clue how they deploy the survey. But it's done independently. That's the beauty about it, and that's one of the proudest things we are. The story this year is African brands have gone up to 70%.
Fantastic.
And I think that's a proud moment for all of us.
Fantastic.
And people ask me the question, how come they went up to 17%? What happened this year? Well, something happened in the last 2 years, remember. Uncle COVID came to visit us. COVID ensured that we all showed us how the real world operates, that you have to look into home, you look at home, or charity begins at home. So a lot of the countries, you heard about apartheid and all these things. So what was happening, the rest of the countries and the world were all internally. So now when you're looking internally, and I mentioned earlier the drip and the Batu story, which really found their grip and during COVID, is we all looked internally, says let's support our own, let's look at ourselves, because nobody else is looking after us.
Yeah, and it was perhaps for that reason why last year we had that other category for most helpful brand during COVID.
Indeed, because every year what we also do, we try to put in a question that may be relevant to the year or that is relevant to things. Yeah. And last year was, what was the brand that was most during COVID? And then this year we put in a question of what is the brand that embraces or symbolizes African pride. And that's an important one, because we want to see which brand it is that speaks to us. So I didn't go through that. So what did we learn about the brands this year? 28% of the brands, so 28 brands come from America, 35 come from Europe. So that's Europe now, not just one country, whereas America is leading with and China and Asia and Africa. Asia and Africa both rose by 4% each. And where do the numbers come from? They all come from electronics. We're on our phones, and you can also imagine that during a lot of us were on our iPads, we're on our phone, we're on. So around that space, that area is the number one. Then, of course, consumer vehicles.
Yeah, and it's an interesting dynamic, specifically people with a cell phone than people with a bank account.
Indeed. Indeed. So the cell phone now has become the banking,
Exactly.
the ATM has become the branch.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So, and if you look at the African split, if you split the continent, 56 brands come from South Africa, the number one brand there being MTN. 20% come from East Africa, the number one being Ethiopian
Airlines.
And Ethiopian, what a beautiful story, because during COVID, Ethiopian really became the brand. It's always a great brand. Now, planes, collect all the African airlines, when you put together all their planes, they still don't come up to the number of COVID. They didn't go down, they went up. Because what COVID, they were moving cargo. They repurposed their business. And so that's why it's one of the most admired brands in the continent. And then Dangote, the standout, because we know the person, we can relate. There's that admiration that we talked about, that, you know, if I can relate to the person, I can relate to the business.
100%.
So if you look at the leading brands by countries, as I said, from the non-African brands, the US led by Nike, China led by Techno. What a great story Techno is. Chinese brand in Africa, and it's only Africans. Yeah. I think they're going into other emerging markets.
Because I was about to say, as a Chinese brand, its biggest market is in Africa.
Well, its only market was Africa. I think they're beginning to spread into markets now.
Interesting.
And then you go to Japan with Toyota, of course. Always been. And then I've spoken about the African brands. So most admired brands then in the continent. So I'll run this through this very quickly. Across board in the continent, Africans for the 5th year in a row, and Nike is the number one brand. Incredible when you look at the top 10. The only non-brand is MTN in the list. So what's the most admired African brands? Then we look at what's the most admired African brands. The most admired African brands. Probably ask the question, what's the most admired brand? Now we ask what's the African brand. So now we're specific and intentional. And in this, they said MTN. If you ask them the question, if you don't specify the category, MTN is still the number one. Right. The number one brand. So number one brand prompted and unprompted. What are brands in Africa? DSTV, BBC, CNN. DSTV for 2 years in a row is the number one. And how interesting, because DSTV is not actually a channel. Yeah. It is the category of channels. Yeah. But we look at it because we all said, I need to get DSTV.
This is where we access.
That's how we access our content.
Exactly.
For a long time, BBC was the number one brand for years, actually. Right. In the most admired financial services brand. Continent, GT Bank. I mean, this is when you see how some brands really know how to reimagine themselves. GT putting on fashion shows, sponsoring, so going out of its category, because sometimes you think of a bank, a boring entity, but
your words, not mine.
No, I'm just saying. But some banks, I sat on the board of a bank for 15 years. Yeah. I know banks very well, and I wore a suit for a bank. Eco Bank from Togo. What's the most admired brands that symbolize African pride? That question I told you about. This was very important. And matter of fact, this question was inspired by a CEO of MTN last year, and about when they were refocusing into Africa and spoke about MTN being. I was quite keen because I was expecting, when I'm hoping, I was thinking, it's South African in 20 plus markets. It's going to be the most admired brand that symbolizes Dangote.
Fantastic.
And why Dangote? We know the guy, can relate to him. He's the richest man in the continent. There's an aspiration. Right. There's a relatability. Yeah. There's an accessibility, and there is a necessity. Yeah. And the necessity meaning that he creates the products that we need.
Correct.
So cement, oil, maize, all flowers.
Yeah,
So we go to the markets. It was so interesting. I was in the market in Nigeria, and a poster of him in the market with Dangote. So selling things, poster of him. So that's that relatability we talked about.
Fantastic.
And
Perhaps before you jump on, what is the importance of categorizing these different brands? Now you have here, you have. What's the importance of categorizing? These brands?
So if you look at a brand, look at categories like media and financial services. Generally, people do not mention them when you ask them what's the most admired brand in Africa,
Right.
in the world,
Right.
because they view media and financial services as a functional brand. They're like, hey, it's a garage purchase.
Yeah.
I need a bank. They must tell me the story. It's the news.
Yeah.
So we then decided when we looked, and we can look across the world, any other, you'll hardly ever see media brands, you'll hardly ever see financial services. And when we look, and I'm not talking most admired brands list. So when you look at that list, and then we said, let us isolate them. The reason we isolated them is because we knew these were the two most catalytic category. And one, financial services, because we need finance to be able to finance our ambitions.
Right.
But we also need media to be able to tell our story. We wanted to see which media brands are telling us and which financial services brands are enabling us to fund our ambitions.
Yeah, because I know on the list for the long time, African stories by foreign media brands or foreign media houses.
Indeed, I mean we can even look again for a minute. CNN, Canal Plus, Meta, Netflix, France 24, YouTube, and then me.
Yeah.
So
and I imagine they'd have incentive to tell positive stories about Africa because they're not African.
Such an interesting perspective. So Africa Filter did a survey last year, and they found out I think about 63% of the people who report about Africa are not even in Africa.
Right.
And only 2% of the people that report for them are from Africa.
Right.
So it was quite interesting.
So the narrative would be quite
so it means that we are not in charge of our narrative, or rather we don't have the channels to tell our narratives. The other thing with media as well is that media is very fragmented. Right. You come to Lesotho, everybody's got a newspaper, YouTube, everybody. So it's a very fragmented category, and the same across any country. So it's not just in Lesotho and all those. See is it's also very difficult to have the most admired list that crosses borders.
Yeah.
Because remember now we're looking at the most admired brands on the continent.
Correct.
So which brands cross the continent? The big guys, the brands that are borders.
Fantastic.
So those are the brands that symbolize African pride, and the number ones in every country. Interesting, as we can see, only 2 African brands are number 1 in an African country. So you can see where Liberia, MTN.
Yeah.
So in Liberia, MTN is number 1. And if you look at in Zimbabwe, the home of the Econet is number 1. So you almost hope that every country, the number 1 brand in every
Will
country,
be their own brand.
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe.
Hopefully.
Maybe tonight.
I hope
Maybe.
I'll have to let's see how that goes. And then just this session, let's look at the leading brands in Southern Africa.
Yeah.
Now the leading Southern Africa, again, Nike, Adidas, Coke, Samsung, Puma, Apple, Gucci, Toyota, Batu, and Econet. And then if you look at the most admired,
It's quite a surprise.
and you know what Batu means? Batu is the township slang for shoe. It's awful. Ke Batu yaka. It's my shoe. And then drug number 3. And that's Southern Africa.
Yeah.
And then you look at the most admired Southern Africa, DSTV, SABC, BBC. And then you can go all the way. And then the most admired financial services in Africa, FNB, Standard Bank, Bank of Africa, ABSA. You can see, I think,
Yeah.
the South dominant list. I think only Standard Chartered and Bank of Africa are not from South Africa. The most admired brands that symbolize African pride: Econet, African Bank, MTN, across the board in the continent. Southern Africa collective research. So I think we stop a minute.
I don't know. Are we ready to see the
So should
Lesotho
we go
list?
through?
Are we ready for
They
this?
don't want to eat first?
I think they should. The last thing I would want is for people to keel over their chairs. Their brand is not on the list. Or maybe their brand is on the list and they weren't expecting. So perhaps let's fuel up that excitement, and then when we come back, we'll jump in. Can we do that, Metogo? Can we do that? Great. Admin, housekeeping. Thank you. Shall
And
we?
also take a break.
After
For
all.
a few minutes. Then we come back and so when we come back, we're going
Over
to look
to
at a
you.
couple of things. We're going to look at admired brands in Lesotho, then the most admired Lesotho brands. So remember, those are two different things. So most admired in Lesotho, most admired Lesotho brand, and the number one Lesotho brand.
I wonder who.
To me, I think it was the surprise for me at least.
Yeah.
And I come here with you and see this place, and I didn't even know the brand. Because when you see, I've got, you can imagine I've got a lot of brands in my head, because being to every country, I get to see the brands and doing the list, see them, and sometimes I get surprised, and I'm like, this brand, when we come back.
Let's see what it is. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Gentlemen, let's give them of applause. I believe we learned a thing or two, right? I saw a couple of CMOs thinking and rethinking out there, or maybe not. Or maybe this was a tip for the CMOs to just hanging in there. All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for lending your ear to this very necessary insight in order to give us all a very wholesome experience of why we're here today. Isn't it so? Can we please give the gentleman a round of applause? And of course, all of the brands that took us from the 90s to the 87th. Well done to all those African countries and African brands. All right, now moving on to the next leg of the event, I'd first like to just say that the event is, of course, hosted by Group Co, supported by Skull Alpha A and LNDC. And this is all supported and powered by the Mammoth Citrus Group. Let's give them applause. All right, so before we move into the most anticipated, I am really, like, when we're sitting there with my co-host, I keep saying, I can't wait until we get to the juicy part, which is knowing Lesotho are making waves. So just a few house rules that I will be leading you on to in the next. But before that, I'd just like to let our online audience know that a quick 30-minute refreshment break. 20. Oh, 20. Because you took the other 10 instead, okay? 20 minutes it is. Before you all scatter, please remain in your seats. We have our ushers to be taking each table to the serving station, and once we have completed that task, we will come back to our tables and into the main event. Galabo.
Sajike matireni, awe mama. Whoa. Welcome to over, baby. Stop some samala. Itanda no muvuta, baby. Yo. Yo. Mama, whoa, Ibeli E20, and Carlton Center, the Stitin, Mom, the Shumilan, the Randlan, the Kori, the Josie, M. Shishi, M. Jipa, whoa, Tambolam Lake Kentucky, Samrala Sami. Samrala samsela tu sami bo Sajike makoneni awe mama Lavi
once again, Bomme and Tate, welcome back. This is officially that time. Are we ready? Are we nice? All right. Please remember that use of our cash bar whilst you also enjoy bottles on your tables. I would like to call on my co-host so we can get this. Can you tell that this is like my favorite part of today?
I can feel it with the tension.
Yeah, I'm gonna need so we can finally have dessert.
Yeah, I think. I think the one thing that we need to do right now is make sure that we get this night going, get everyone out of their suspense, so that excitement can be in the room. I can't hear myself. I hope everyone else can hear me, especially the people who are joining us from the rest of Africa. So we are about to get ready to get into the most interesting part of the evening this evening. Before we do that, to say this wouldn't have been possible without Tangerine Co. with Sky Alpha HD, EcoNet, as well as NDC, and of LNDC rather, and of course supported and powered by the Citrus Group. Without wasting any more time, I think we should get ready. I hope everyone is. I hope this time you'll also scream, ululate, do the things. Let's show that, we have African pride.
Yeah.
Riba Afri. And we would like to call up to join us on stage. Evening, they have been up again. Ntate Philani Pomani, Kalefeng, please join us on stage and let us officially start ceremony for the evening.
I think everyone's refreshed. Can we have the remote for the slideshow there? I think while we're getting that sorted, it's important for us to acknowledge the 300 people that are watching. The crowd that we've got attention to brands tonight, in addition to 100 in the room. So we're doing quite well. That's the beauty of COVID. I think the fortunate side of COVID is that it has allowed us to reach more people through technology. That you could reach 450 people in one go and only have a few hundred in the room. Right? Very interesting, very exciting.
Comes to live in.
Absolutely. Shall we talk all things Lesotho?
Let's talk all things in Lesotho first.
All things in Lesotho.
So all things in Lesotho, the leading to went there quickly by mistake earlier. Number 3. But let's talk first how we're gonna do this. Actually.
No build up. Build up.
Where's the drum?
Drum rolls.
No. I was going to say, what we're going to do tonight, we are going to name 3, 2, and then the goal. But we're just going to call up the number 1 to come and receive, but get the certificates. But just the interest of time for tonight, we're just going to go with the 1, 1, 1, 1, 1s. Absolutely. To be in the list to me is an achievement, irrespective of where you are. So that's why we don't call them 1, 2, 3 really, gold and gold.
Before you show the brands, I think it's important that we mention that what we're doing tonight is we're recognizing brand builders as well. So in addition to brands, we're also recognizing brand builders and flag bearers of the Kingdom of Lesotho. People on the flag high, people that have trailblazed, people that have shown us what is possible in the region and on the continent. Right?
As I said, number 3, bronze Samsung, Vodacom, the most admired brand in Lesotho across board. So we're also going to do as well today. I'm going to recognize and call up the people from that based in Lesotho. We know Nike Lesotho. Recognize nonetheless that the brand is number 1 in Lesotho, as it is in the rest of the continent. So hopefully you're going to bring it
hopefully this will encourage a shoe factory in the country.
Or it will encourage somebody here to try and take them.
Maybe, actually, even better. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So if you look at the top 10, Nike, Vodacom, Samsung, Adidas, Econet, Sprite, Puma, Toyota, Apple, and FC. So it's quite an interesting range.
Quite interesting with Vodacom, though a South African brand, it's come in at number 2. I'm just mentioning the ones that we actually do use and consume in the country. We have Econet at number 5. So that's quite interesting as well. And this is overall. So
this is overall in Lesotho. So this is not specifically Lesotho brands or
so it is
those.
possible that even though 5 on the overall brand, they may number 1
we don't know. Let's
on
see.
the other categories. Let's see.
So most admired African brands in Lesotho. So now
Vodacom.
African brands.
Fantastic.
So now Vodacom, and probably as you tell what an African brand is. So if you were created in Africa to serve African consumers, so brands like Tusker from Kenya or Vodafone, we've all obviously been bought by international brands, but them from their domestic, from their indigenous origins. So that's how we categorize them. Number 1, Econet.
Econet. The first, please come up. I think
Someone from Econet.
we have someone from Econet come and. Yeah, thank
Do we
you
have
so
representative
much.
from Econet?
Representative from Econet. I think we have a whole table. I'm not sure if they're debating if they should bring the whole table up on stage. Have one person come up.
Do you know, I think what's so interesting about Econet as they're coming, what's so interesting is, remember they were the front runners when mobile telephony started.
Absolutely.
In Zimbabwe, in even Nigeria.
Yes.
Before everybody else became big, before even an MTN became. And of course, again, like Dangote, we know the person. We can sort of relate to the person.
Yeah.
So any time in the description, people then go to the relatability.
Absolutely.
Econet, are we in the house?
Oh, fantastic. We have a whole team from Econet here.
It's our work. So you can look at the rest of the list.
So we have Econet, we have ShopRite, and we have Vodacom. So tonight we just saw Vodacom. It's important we give a round of applause to ShopRite and Vodacom as well. So let's give them a round of applause.
Most admired media brands in Lesotho.
Excuse me. Oh, I just want you to go back to something very interesting. You have some apparel brands. There you have Bonono Merchants at number 4 as one of the African brands in Lesotho. Again, this is a young brand, 15 years old. You have Bouchet South Africa. You heard the story.
Bonono, yes.
Right?
That's it.
Aranda, the wonderful that we're wearing.
Amarula, Drip.
There you
so
go.
Interesting.
Very interesting that the Maluti beverage came in at number 8. That was a surprise for me.
But why is it? Because we're in Lesotho, we're asking the most admired African brands in Lesotho. So Basotho would naturally, I think, name some of their brands.
Fantastic.
I expect that.
I would have thought it would come a bit further up in the list.
Oh, you want it further up?
Yes.
But
we'll see. We'll see. Let's see
the
what
most admired media
the other
brands
categories say.
in Lesotho. Number 3, PC.
PCFM.
PCFM. Number 2, DS.
Fantastic.
SABC.
Number 1, SABC.
I get it. It's right next door. So the why it comes into
quite an adjustment from last year. Quite an adjustment from last year. It is an African.
I can't argue with Lesotho. I can't argue with Lesotho. That's what they said. They said SAB.
That's what the data says. So it's interesting. It is an African brand, not a Lesotho brand. But if you do a quick comparison to what we have this year versus what we had last year. Last year it was full of Lesotho brands. It was made of Lesotho brands. And one sort of needs to then ask the question, what are we doing in terms of telling our stories? Our stories appealing to Basotho. They should, such that people remember our local media brands.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I want to recognize them tonight on purpose because they're not a Lesotho brand.
So, but what's also interesting on the list is you see brands like you see brands like Vodafone, you see Meta, because what happens is that people are now using their phones, they're using internet, and they're using all those as news channels. So that's quite interesting as well.
Interesting, you have Radio Lesotho coming in at number 10.
Yeah, Radio Lesotho was number 10.
Widest coverage in the country. Quite an upset.
What was it last year? I can't remember.
Last year we had Africa FM coming out on top. Yeah, it's fallen in quite a few places this year.
The most admired financial services brand
Okay, stop.
in Lesotho?
This is the money. This is the money.
I've already gone
This is the money. So they've already seen it. I was hoping that would build excitement, but you're in a rush tonight, so it's fine.
I'm not in a rush. Most of my financial services brand. So, Alliance number 3.
Alliance Insurance coming in at number 3.
Standard Bank Lesotho.
Standard Lesotho Bank coming in at number 2.
Number 1. FNB.
First National Bank coming in at number 1. Please, let's give them a round of applause. Someone from the bank.
Congress. And then, thank you so much. And then so talking FNB, Standard Bank, Alliance, Net Bank, Post Bank, from Metropolitan, Clientele. This list was dominated by South Africa for some reason.
But at least we have 2 Lesotho brands. Fantastic.
The most admired brand that symbolizes pride in Lesotho.
Stop. What do we mean by African pride in Lesotho?
We mean the brand embodies the culture that people can relate to. They say this brand speaks to me, it speaks like me, it represents me. So to me, that's what symbolizes brand. As a brand, is it relatable, and do people look at it as a brand that represents and stands for me?
And coming in at number 3.
Coming at number 3,
we have
Connect. Coming at 2,
ShopRite.
ShopRite.
I wonder who's number 1. Fantastic. Fantastic. Congratulations to them.
GC.
Do we have someone from I don't know if you sensed the excitement in the room when they came out.
And the rest of them.
Right.
Again, North Africa, but Afriski. So
Afriski coming in at number 5.
So when I was training for
7 actually.
When I was training for Manjaro, Afriski is where I used to go practice.
Training ground.
So train. We call it training, where I used to go stress myself, kill myself.
Right, and then Aranda coming in at number 9.
Reza coming in at number 9.
Very interesting.
Most admired apparel brands.
So this is an interesting category,
Why?
considering the fact that the textile industry is one of the largest in the country, employing thousands and thousands of Basotho. I think it's only fitting that we have this category to find out which brand Basotho wear the most.
Which brands the Basotho wear the most? Interesting point. That is so true. That doesn't Levi make jeans? Well?
It does.
So a lot of global brands make that stuff from there. So most admired.
Basotho Landing. Basotho Landing coming in at number 3, and then you have Joachim Gauss coming in at 2.
Number 1.
Coming in at number 1.
I'm hoping one very well known.
So it's not about,
Sorry, if I just go back here, you can see there weren't many brands, apparel brands that came up on the list.
Yeah.
But those were all the Basotho.
those are the 3 ones. So it's interesting. It's not about which brand is the oldest. It's not about which brand spends the most. It's a
It's a brand that is most meaningful, most relatable, and the brand that does the most to build that relationship with their consumers. So
Fantastic.
congratulations to the young folks, Babu Nun.
Okay, so let's find out what Basotho are drinking.
What are Basotho drinking? Amstel.
And it's coming in at number
So
3.
what we did in this category, we mixed alcohol and non-alcoholic category. Some other countries so we'll separate the alcohol and we'll separate the drinks. So Basotho are respectable. Badesha. So that's number 3, Castle.
And then Coca-Cola coming in at number
And the number 1 beverage brand. Maluti.
Hey brother, life is yours. You better live. Hey sister,
Congratulations.
change your life.
So I was expecting that, Maluti, as part of the brand building, there'll be a Maluti on every table. So,
Yeah, that
ask, right? That's for my next time.
next
year,
time we'll
please.
definitely do that.
Next year,
We'll
please.
definitely do it.
Otherwise, Coke it will be shuffling and then they'll do
And I'm sure they
up
will.
the list.
I'm sure they will. So retail brands.
Retail
where,
brands,
Where
number
Basotho
3.
shopping?
Where
Mr.
Basotho
Price.
shop, Mr. Price, Pep, Ardinia,
ShopRite. It's coming at number 1. Do we have a representative from ShopRite in the room? I wonder.
right here.
Do we?
We do?
Do we? They're not here tonight. Looks like they're not here tonight. So
Most
it's fine.
admired
Well-
telecoms brand in Lesotho.
So it's only tricky. Wait, it's tricky. It's tricky. There's only 2 of them.
There's only 2. Not quite.
Tell
No,
me.
well,
Tell us.
so what we saw here, you see in every, it's like what I said earlier, that just because the brand is not present here, does not mean that it is not admired. Remember I told you about the Ferraris, the Gucci's, the Christian Dior, and all those in the top 100.
Got it.
The top 10, not the top 10, 10% of the top 100 are luxury brands, which are not even in the most of them are not even in the continent, because we see them on our television shows, we see them on the rap stars because they sing about them, we see them on the markets, fake ones. Yesterday I saw an article, even Louis Vuitton is beginning to sell fakes.
Oh, really?
I don't know. This was an article yesterday.
That's very interesting.
At the Louis Vuitton in Paris, and it was fake.
So that's
a big story.
It's
because Louis Vuitton is the most copied brand.
So it's a double negative. The more counterfeits there are, the more the brand is going to grow.
No. It's an admired brand, and people want to access it, and they're not necessarily accessing it. And
so because they can't say, and then you get more counterfeits.
Yes.
Great.
So
telecoms. MTN.
We spoke earlier. I read earlier somebody says it's not MTN. It's on your list.
So
it's on your
Lesotho are actually talking about MTN.
So they're talking about it, but perhaps not just talking about it. When they cross over to South Africa, they probably see it a lot. And when they watch TV, they see the television ads on DSTV. So sometimes that's what happened. And Equinet number 2 and number 1.
From Lesotho coming in at number 1.
We have a representative for Vodacom.
I need my tablet.
Congratulations. And then, now, admired Lesotho brands. Starting with media.
Who do we have? Oh.
Number media empowerment.
Africa FM.
Africa. Africa did well last year.
First last year.
Africa was first last year, remember.
So it's dropped 2 places this year. It's come in at number 3. Radio Lesotho was actually number 10 last year.
It's moved up.
It's moved up 8 places.
So, and by the way, it's so easy to follow. When you live in a country, what happens with these brands, you get to experience them, and you intuitively know why they are there. But one brand.
It's PCFM. That's fantastic. Congratulations to PCFM. Do we have anyone from PCFM?
Do you have somebody from PCFM?
I think they're probably on radio now. So
they're on radio.
So they're not going to join us.
And we move on.
Fantastic. So let's at the top 10 list. So you have PCFM coming in first, Lesotho second, Mafrica FM coming in third, Ultimate FM coming in fourth. It was number 9 last year.
So done very well.
Radio Maria number 5. It was around 8 last year. We have The Post coming in at 6. It wasn't even in the top 10 last year.
Wow.
You have Harvest FM, Tsenulo FM, Dilapalapa TV, and then Lesotho National Broadcasting Service TV coming in at number 10. So it's interesting that this year we only have one print media in the top 10 list.
One print media. Yeah, but I mean, you say one print media. People like to say print is dying. I'm not necessarily thinking print just needs to reinvent itself.
Right.
And what you see a lot now is even print is gone digital. So the print titles that we know, they are now all digital. When you go into your digital, they'll say, before you read past 2, please pay money. So because they understand now that they have to media in all platforms. So
fantastic. So
most admired, cognizant of the time, so I want to make sure that everybody gets to know their favorite brand. Now, lady.
Interesting. Propellers coming in at number 3. And Lesotho Post Bank coming in at number 2.
Lesotho are busy planning their funerals.
Interesting one. You wouldn't ordinarily think that a funeral provider would be a financial services provider.
Well, it's a financial services planner because people are taking out, are putting money, and they are, so that's how, if you're collecting money and holding in fiduciary, you're in financial services. So, and that's what, matter of fact, a friend of mine who runs a funeral parlor says he makes more money from insurance in the funeral than he actually does
in all the other insurance.
in sending us home.
Interesting. So, number one brand.
Alliance.
Alliance Insurance. That is...
Alliance Insurance, the number one most admired Lesotho financial.
Fantastic.
From Alliance?
From Alliance. We have someone from
Alliance does well. They did well last year.
Did well last year as well.
So
There's a bit of consistency that we're seeing with the brand.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. So when we look at the top, Alliance Insurance coming in at number one, Lesotho Bank coming in at, Lesotho Post Bank two, A Lady Funeral Planners three, Tari Mutual coming in at number four, KK Finance, which is a micro lender. Oh wow, then there's number six, Mama Citrus Group, that's a surprise. Budiba Finance, Savings and Credit coming in at number 7, Putadi Chaba Financial 8, Mosh Financial Services at 9, and then the regulator coming in at number 10, Central Bank of Lesotho. Fantastic.
Remember, regulators these days are quite vocal. They also understand that they also need to market themselves because they have what they do for countries and economies.
Absolutely.
So
that's fantastic.
To close. To close the brand section, then we have three where we are recognizing brand builders in Lesotho over the years, from public service, corporate, and from the industry. Number one, Lesotho brand. 3, 2.
That's number 3, Joachim Garments, and
Bonono
number 2.
Kamket.
Bonono Merchants is the most admired brand in Lesotho. That is fantastic. So Bonono Merchants at number 1, Joe 2, Alliance Insurance at number 3, Basotho Land Inc. at number 4, Kotsa Cosmetics coming in at number 6, Sintibale Funeral Services number 6, MKM Funeral Services at number 8. Cuban Links came in at number 9. That is interesting. That's an interesting one. So, and then Lesotho Flour Mills coming in at number 10.
Congratulations to all the brands, and I think this and many others is you cannot conjure up a story in your submission that then gets judged based on how it looks. Yeah. So this is the adjudication by Basotho on what is their most admired brand, paid to do it, and without you paying to be adjudicated. So I think to me, what we love about wanted to do this, we really wanted to look at how people feel spontaneously rather than how people feel based on a PowerPoint presentation or and all those. So congratulations to all the brands in Lesotho, all the brands, Lesotho brands, and all the other brands which are doing well. And congratulations to all of you for building these great brands. Now to close the evening, we are going to recognize and to put together a committee that includes people from here who know the people well, people from outside who have a view about people from West London, from African about who people are, and the reference, and we check their work. We look at the performance, we look at their impact, we look at what they've done over the years, and we've looked at how they've impacted the industry on one. We looked at others, how they've built brands, and others we look at how they're flying the Lesotho flag. The common denominator across all of them is how they are building Made in Africa excellence. So that's what we are looking at to close this. And the first recognition, I went myself, but those are the top 100 bands in the continent. You can see them later. And then cover story from African Business. It's coming out this weekend, I think. It will be all over the world. And then the leadership, the award, looking at somebody who has been an outstanding ambassador for Lesotho through their work in sports. Can we get an presentation of the winner?
Yes, absolutely. And perhaps it's important that we include this category specifically. Country is a public service. It is not professional. It is purely run by volunteers. And you have volunteers that put in hours of work, a lot of sweat, a lot of their own to represent the country. And a lot of them do a really good job at flying the flag high. The particular one, we're going to award the individual that has done that the most, and if we may find out who that is.
Ramopok
Mrs. Matlohang Muilo Ramoko
is one of the most influential women in sports administration, not only in Lesotho but in Southern Africa, having co-founded sport unions such as the Table Tennis National Federation of Lesotho in the early 90s. She went on to serve as an administrator at various sports unions, including Lesotho Netball Association, where she was Secretary General. She also held the following portfolios: Honorary Vice President, Women in Sports National Committee, Executive Member, Confederation of South African National Olympic Committee, Council Member for Africa, Fourth Vice President, Re-elected President, Lesotho National Olympic Committee, elected Chairperson, Women and Sport Commission.
Matlohang could not join us tonight. She is raising the flag high here as an International Olympic Committee member. So please, let's give her a round of applause in absentia.
And next, African brand leadership excellence for somebody who has contributed to business here, and particularly in building a Lesotho Made in Africa business excellence. Wherever they've been in business, whatever they've been part of, has been a mark of excellence and exemplary. And the citation for the
This, I should say the name first. Under this category, we were awarding Ndati Lebona Lepema. If we may please give him a round of applause.
Ndati Lebona Lepema, the Lesotho-born businessman, was born Lebona Fabian Lepema to Basotho parents in the 1960s. He was born in the Berea district as the youngest amongst 5 siblings. His parents made a small grocery shop, which later diversified into a chain of grocery shops around the town. This is where his love for business started, and he used to man the cash till his shops. In 1987, he pioneered a transportation business called Executive Transport. It was in 1994 that he founded what was to be known as Lepema Executive Transport. His interests include, but are not limited to, transport and logistics, infrastructure development and construction, culture, mining, civils, and the list goes on. Recently established state-of-the-art Maluti cement, the first of its kind in Lesotho. Also, a active role in the fight against the spread of COVID-19 by donating a fully fledged COVID laboratory to the government-owned hospital. He has currently employed over 1,000 Basotho nationals across all these sectors. He is a committed member of the Roman Catholic Church and is a proud share of Paul's funds. He is already grooming into his business.
Let's put it on. Yep. Do we have a microphone that works? Just so you can say 2 words. 2 words.
Microphone.
Microphone, is it on?
Banale mona.
Small technical glitch there. Ah, great.
Where's the one
Technology
to
now-
before
now
Kala?
powerful.
Bommel bontate. Kutlwe ho bua se ka bo. Jwale ke rena e hlile re tlameha ho bua se kaofela. Ke ne ke re it's an honor to have been recognized by Lesotho at large. Some of the operations that we have done has just been a challenge for us to see that Lesotho is the mine of all countries that are taking the money out of this country. And then we decided to say, let Lesotho be the producers, not the consumers. So you've seen it by yourself in the screen, whereby even Zimbabwe is taking money out of Lesotho. I don't know if that is what we want. So for this moment that I've got, I would just challenge all to say, let us start sell only the consumers.
Congratulations.
Well, you can put it in here.
Congratulations. Congratulations, Tatilwan.
And finally, congratulations that. And finally, we're recognizing a leader in the communications, advertising, PR, design, anything related to the industry that supports of brands. And we do this because to build great brands is a partnership between not just the business visionary for the idea, but also the creative industry from marketing, communications, design, which help to tell these stories and take them out to the broader Africans. And the laureate for this award is
Ntate Thabiso Letsoela.
Mr. Thabisa Letsoela is a highly experienced chief executive, global marketing and a business strategist with more than 30 years of experience working in various countries on the continent. He has a vast experience in starting, which also providing bespoke business and solutions for reputable and listed companies in sectors such as technology, telecommunications, automotive, and higher education.
Great. 2 words? 2 words.
words.
2 words.
He is currently the Group CEO at UNISA Enterprise, a new company established with the purpose of commercializing UNISA's intellectual property and assets. He has held executive positions at brands such as MultiChoice and Vodacom South Africa, among others.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Ha ke batla ho bua lololo hobane jwale ke tloa ke lla. Jwale ke kopa hle le mpe le ntumelle ke re fela Modimo a boloke Lesotho le Basotho. Ke a leboha.
Congratulations again. Congratulations. Okay.
And that, I think, concludes my part of the evening tonight. Thank you so much for making this a reality for Lesotho for the last couple of years, through COVID, post-COVID, and for doing this, because I think what we do, elevate Basotho, elevate Lesotho, elevate Made in Lesotho, and broadly and ultimately elevate Africa. So congratulations to you for the vision to say, we while here.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Congratulations to you as well, Dadetebe. Having started in 2010, just 8 countries now. We're moving to hybrid events where we're now able to cover more people. And the more we do this, the more we educate, the more we empower, the more we inspire. Today we've assessed, we've showcased brands. Once we're going to be assessing, we're going to be showcasing places. So that's going to be very exciting. As I said, I'm putting my money on having five places at least for the Kingdom of Lesotho on that list. So congratulations. Thank you very much for joining us. It's important that at this stage, maybe before we have the closing remarks, do you think there's time to have a group picture with the number ones?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Can we call the number ones? Let's have one quick group picture before we close. Can we do that? All the number ones, pretty much everyone with a certificate, please come up on stage. Everyone with a certificate.
Trophy.
And trophy. Certificate and trophy. Brand Africa class of 2022.
It's like a certificate. It's like a certificate matata. How? Stand on the floor.
So you can just come close. Stand up.
There you go. Come. Helen, come closer.
Yeah?
Come inside.
Closer.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're near the end of our evening. Evening, quite a lot of surprises, talking points. At this stage, I would like to invite a representative of the Lesotho National Development Corporation, Dade Semeteraleche, to come and give us closing remarks as one of the partners and supporters of this initiative. Very strategic organization in building nation brand. Give them a round of applause. Right. Let's just make sure it's on. Yeah, it's on.
Wow, what a beautiful, beautiful evening. Bommel bontate ke ikamahanya le the protocol largely put forward to you at the start of the function. Ke tle ke ska ka ya lolololo ka kena ho yona. Empa ke lebohelo ho lebohela Mammoth Citrus Group and Brand Africa for an incredible function tonight. What an outstanding event indeed. I was part of it. I think the first event that was held here in Marseille got to taste this so-called Brand Africa aspirations, and I was really impressed. Now, just to highlight a few points in closing, you know, the Lesotho National Development Corporation is also one of the biggest sponsors for this event, and there is a reason why we are amongst the sponsors. The reason is that LNDC is currently leading the national brand program, and it's under that umbrella that all the brands will grow and make Lesotho a beacon to be recognized. I want to believe that it is all our aspiration that in the coming year or so, we should see at least 5 brands from Lesotho amongst the top African brands. My vision, I hope that is also your vision too. Why is that important? Because Lesotho is also a signatory to the Continental Free Trade Area or Free Trade Agreement. And the agreement sets the aspirations of the African continent to open doors for trade of raw materials, goods, final goods, and increase intra-Africa trade. Now, there are barriers to that. Earlier on, I think that the team that was here earlier on highlight a few of those barriers, and one of them is connectivity. Connectivity not only digitally, but physically, physical infrastructure. If you want to move a container from Lesotho, it will take you longer than you would move a container from here to the US. If you want to anywhere in Africa, probably you have to go outside the African continent, then come back. So Africa has to build its has to build and create its own solutions, and these have to be homebrewed. And we can see examples exist in this country where local brands have been created, key personalities have led the transformation of the economy of Lesotho. So we give congratulations and a big thank you to those key personalities that were here on the stage for leading the path, and I hope they become our inspiration as a nation. Now, when I looked at the brands that were presented here, I could see that everything centers around. I didn't see anything from Tabatse, Kakacha, Mokhotong. So this is also a challenge, that as we develop and grow our industries, our brands, we need also as a country, particularly NDC, with your programming and other financial support that you provide to key industries, we should be able to grow business across the entire part of the country. So it is also a challenge that we need to meet. Now, in closing, I would like to also indicate the LND's support for this program, and the people who are the champions, or what I can call the leaders leading the national brand program. And they all from different sectors, including some of the companies that we saw here that took the prize today. And we would like to thank them, and we wish we could instill the same passion to up and upcoming or growing young brands. And the team, the LNDC team that is sitting over there, when they saw is it Bonono Industries? I'm picking one because there is a challenge that was. So please expect our call tomorrow. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Ntate. The phenomenal work that LNDC does to continue growing and developing, industries in Lesotho is absolutely remarkable. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Kiva, I think we have come to the end of our evening. It's been absolutely phenomenal.
Yes, what an event, and such happy winners, right? Everyone happy to be taking their certificate back to their office? We hope that we will be walking into corridors and seeing those proudly hung at your reception areas.
Definitely, and let us remember that this evening, and the top African brands and brands in Lesotho go beyond the rooms tonight. Let us continue the conversations, let us network, let us all come together in Lesotho and make it what we want it to be through the rest of Africa and through the rest of the world. Before we close, I just have a few acknowledgements I need to make. A big thank you to our technical partners, Geopol, which is the leading mobile surveying platform. A big thank you to brand leadership, Tebe Ikalefeng, being Africa-focused branding, strategic marketing and communication company, brand leadership, doing phenomenal work throughout. And of course, this evening would not be possible. Our organizers, the Tangerine Co. Media and Experiences in Lesotho, in collaboration with the Lesotho National Development Corporation, otherwise known as LNDC, which has been the main parastatal of the government of Lesotho, charged with the implementation of industrial development policies. A big thank you as well to our streaming partner, which is Sky for HD. It is a digital urban contemporary and Basotho-owned online radio station, proudly started by Basotho, covering issues which include socio-economic affairs, news, current affairs, and so much more. And last but not least, and I promise you I'm not being biased, but this is like one of the best companies that we have here, and that is the Math, who are a value creation company, founded proudly as well. We are invested in the fields of healthcare, business process outsourcing, funeral services, advisory services, and communication. So a big, big thank you to all that have made tonight possible.
Awesome. Let's give them all a round of applause. Well, this has been an awesome night.
It definitely has been. It's been absolutely
Unforgettable.
remarkable, incredible, and
amazing.
I'm done. Are
You're
you
done.
done?
Just one more thing. We absolutely cannot wait to see what all of the brands in this room